So we're gonna try something a little different. Do you wanna kind of say what it is, babe?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we're doing.
You're not sure what we're doing? Okay, so based on the video we posted last week about the chores and the couple things, I think it got a lot of reception and a lot of conversation going. And I'm particularly in love with love, hence our love journey. Brendan is slowly...
I'm getting into it.
He's slowly getting into it. So we're going to try to do these videos. I won't promise how far it's going to go. We will see, but let us know how you feel about them.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and incorporate both singles and married people and courting, right? Yeah. So today we're gonna talk about knowing your worth. So this is based on a conversation that we had one morning, and we're speaking about our dating lives from like Fantuka up till when we dated. Up until we dated until our marriage life. And should I go first?
Yeah, you can start.
So the basis of what we're talking about is a lot of women don't know their worth. And I'll start by sharing my story. Throughout my dating life, I didn't know my worth as a woman. I didn't know who I was, what I was worth, and what I shouldn't say, what I shouldn't accept. And as a result, I ended up in a relationship where I gave so much of myself for absolutely no reason. I was actually telling Brendan that I was once in a relationship, well, I called it a relationship, where the guy called me only on Friday after midnight, and I think like airtime was free that time. And at first I'd like complain and be like, you don't call me during the weekend, be like, yeah, that's because I'm busy, I'm doing this during the week, and this is, and then eventually I numbed myself to say, you know what, at least he calls me on Friday, and I accepted that, and I thought he actually loved me. And I think about it now, like, how the hell do I think someone loves me? But I didn't know my worth, and I was just willing to give so much to make sure that that guy accepts me. So fast forward, I ended up just giving so much of myself in relationships just to be accepted, or just to feel like I could be loved. I mean, I never got in relationships where I thought, we're just having fun. Every time I got in a relationship, I thought, this is it.
Sure.
You know, that's just how I thought. But yeah, I just got to a point, and this is just before I met you, where I had been broken so many times, given so much of myself that I had nothing left. And this is when I started watching your Heather Lindsay's, following Tony Gaskins, and all these people who are about like...
I'm an expert.
I'm an experts, love experts. And that's when I just put my foot down and I said, you know what, the next person I get in a relationship with has to respect me, and these are my rules, and if they can't go by those rules, they could go. And I was basically at a point where I was okay with being alone. And I think that's the most important part of knowing your worth, being okay with being alone.
Yeah, I think generally as guys, I don't know if we have a worth discussion or we ever even think about it. But we are usually from a young age, I mean, we are valued by women. That's a guy's value is how many women find him attractive, how many women like him. You know, that's how we value ourselves. So I think that's the first flaw in as a man is the way we raise men, you know, is the way society is. And so I think when we met, I was very much in that. I was very much in the fact, you know, and even like after we met, like I was very much in being valued by females, being valued. Like that's how I'd see myself. I'd see myself the way they see me. So when I met you, you were definitely like different to a lot of girls that I dated, because you had like an idea of who you are. You're very strong in your self, in your sense of self. And now that you mention Uguti, it's because you had been hurt. But I definitely sensed that, and I definitely sensed that you were different. Like not in a sense, you know, when guys say like, yeah, this girl is different, they don't mean Uguti, okay, manje mina sengyuba Ujehovah. They don't mean that they're gonna change and become what they mean is that they can tell that you're worth doing the work for, so that they can tell that you're different and that you bring out a side of them, like you make them better, you bring out. I was actually watching a thing last night, and this guy was just talking about how, but he was talking after he lost the girl because he didn't act right or he didn't value her. But he said during that time, he realizes that he became a better human being. And so when a guy says this girl is different, it's because they see those things. They see how much you value yourself, and you valuing yourself makes us value you, even though we don't know how to do that. So it takes a while for us to actually, for things to actually click. And it can take it's different with guys, you know. Some guys it'll take 2 years, 3 years, 6 years, 7 years. But that initial seed is planted when a woman knows her value, because like I said, we value ourselves based on women's value. So our work is to also, again, I think it's also important for guys to be to know their own worth, to know their strengths,
unlearn the whole,
and to unlearn, yes. But I think it also, because now that's how we've been, you know. I mean, if let's say when we started dating, I was like 20 or 21. That's like years of all that stuff being drilled into my mind. Yeah, you know, that's how men are valued. So the main thing is to kind of find yourself and to find who you really are, because I think a lot of guys don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And if you took away material things, because these are the things that we value ourselves with, materials and women, and so if you took those things away, a lot of men don't know who they are.
Sure.
Like you see it now with the lockdown, you know. If you're following people on Instagram, look at the people who are still posting like flashbacks, like TBT, umuntu usestradini ngemoto yakhe, TBT out with the boys or the girls, all these TBTs, and you realize, oh, people aren't actually, they don't know who they are. Like, people value themselves, they value themselves with all these external things. And so I think as men, it's a lot more prominent because we are taught that. But yeah, back to what you were saying. So when we met, it definitely was different. I could definitely see that you had your principles and your values, and you had your things set as to what you wanted to achieve in that relationship. You didn't just go in blindly, as we mostly do, you know. Usually we watch so many romantic movies. We think falling in love is this thing that you just do this thing with your eyes closed, and it's not, you know. You really have to stop and realize what's happening. And I know a lot of times, I mean, I always tell you, like, I would just like tell one of my friends who would say, this girl, it's getting too serious, and she was like, but she's a nice girl. And I realized that I was scared, because I realized that to be with you would mean I would have to change, I would have to be a better person, I would have to do the work, and I don't know how long that work's gonna take. And so that's what comes with knowing your worth, though. It starts that journey. I think most importantly, that's what we should know, Guti. The most important part about knowing your worth is that it doesn't mean it's going to change your life, or it's going to make everything all of a sudden like just become rosy, and the next guy you meet, because you know your worth, is going to be Mr. Right and he's just going to be perfect. No, it means you're going to start the work. It means that you have an opportunity to start and build like a right foundation.
And some guys will actually leave you because
some guys will leave you.
Yeah, they just like, okay, well, I'm not ready for this, and that's okay.
And some guys you will have to leave because because they're not stepping up. So it's
okay. What are some of the things you think men see in women who don't know their worth, who they feel like, okay, this is the kind of woman I can go for because she doesn't require me to step up? So give me an example of a girl that would be easy to play around with.
Sure.
Signs that show visibly good. Okay, I know if I go over there, it's easy. There's no work.
I'm trying to think. Well, I don't think it's like that.
Okay.
But I think what it is that, remember, like I said, as men we use like materials to define ourselves, or external things. It's never like from within.
Okay.
So if we find someone who is okay with us being that version of ourselves, then we know it's okay, this is fine. You don't have to dig deep. You don't have to like, you never actually have meaningful conversations. It's always just you know, chit chat. So usually it's women like that who are okay with that, and maybe they also just want something simple or whatever. Maybe they also just don't know how to verbalize what they want, or maybe they feel dominated, or they're people who are extremely submissive. But I think as men, when you find someone who's just okay with just having regular chit chat, who doesn't ask questions that maybe are a bit uncomfortable for you, who kind of, like respects you so much or almost idolizes you to a point, like that's why I say they see you the way you think you trying to appear, you know, so they're seeing what you are portraying as opposed to who you are, the god that you are portraying, this person that you've built up to say this is this person, because at the end of the day we all have vulnerabilities, and that's what makes relationship work is when you open up to that person and you allow that person in, so if we both just being on the surface, then it's very easy for me to manipulate where things go, because I'm very much in charge of what you get to see or of what you are responding to.
Okay, another question is, so there's this whole chat that a guy can date you for like 7 years, move in with you, and then you break up 3 months later, they marry somebody else. What can, if you say that kind of relationship is probably on the surface, what makes a man stay in a relationship like that, like for 7 years, where you know that the person is not for you? Because I feel like after 3 years you should have
I know that, okay, there's obviously a lot of factors that but I think a lot of that is comfortability, is that guys are just comfortable with the way things are. And I've said this, I think, in a previous video, Guti, we don't see the need to change things. Like, guys we're very simple people, so the way we think is very simple. So if something is working,
why change it?
Like,
until
most
you get
times,
someone
most times we already, maybe you staying over so much, we're basically living together. We're basically doing everything together. You cook for me, you do this, I bring my laundry to your place or whatever. There's a whole system. But you don't have the title and you don't have to be responsible. Exactly. So for me is that I have the perks, but I don't have the pressure. Also, it's the pressure. See, another thing is that I think a lot of guys, it's not that they don't want to change, it's that they're afraid of what that change means. And a lot of times that change, it means a lot of sacrifice, especially if you're established in your life. If you have things that are working and you're fine with your dysfunction, it's very hard to now start a new religion of living where now you are this monk of a guy, monk. Like, if you're not married to someone, it's okay to say, as in niashotala, I'm not, like, I've got these weaknesses, I've got these things maybe I've got a lust issue, maybe I have this it's okay to say that, because our shatanga and whatnot. Once you get married, it's now you have to confront those issues. You can't be living in this this just fantasy world. Okay, do you have any questions for me? The second part of your question, I'm going to ask you questions. The second part of your question, which is then why after 3 months would they get married to someone, is that when that person does what you were talking about, they show their worth and they put their things out up front. So when you meet that person, you know what to expect, and so you get to decide, am I willing to now live up to that, or do I walk away? And most times, because they've been in something for so long, a lot of guys know that they have it in them. They know that it will require a bit more work to fully be transparent about who they are. But they know, Guti, they are able to cohabit with a woman. They know that they're able to take care of a woman or protect her in whatever needs that she might need to be protected. So they know that they've now learned their value through that time. You understand? So that 7 years that goes basically in practice, because she didn't know the word. In a way, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. That's the hard truth. Unfortunately, well, that's my truth. That's what I think happens. Okay, I want to ask you this, right? With females. Well, where do you draw the line between dating a guy for just his perception, how he looks, or his whole demeanor, his vibe, and actually how well he treats you? Sure. I think that one is so hard, especially if sex is in the picture. Okay. Because the problem is that we get into these relationships with these guys who come with a certain appearance and we think they're this, and then we jump straight into bed with them. And we know once sex is involved, everything, there's no blurred judgment. Your judgment is blurred. So it's hard to say. But like when we dated, there was no sex. And it was easy for me to break up with you from the get-go. The first time you were doing acting nonsense. Fresh. Yeah, sorry? Yeah, the first time you were acting fresh, I was just like,
well, dude, I'm done. Bye. You know, because there wasn't that because sex is spiritual and it's a tie, it's a soul tie. So we didn't have that tie. So everything of ours was based on an emotional level and a friendship level. And I was just like, well, if you're gonna have an ego, if you think you deserve all these other women, then go there. You know, I'm good, I'm okay. So I think it's hard for women to tell once sex is involved. But if sex isn't involved, then it's like with friendships, you won't be with someone who treats you badly. Like it's easy to make that decision, like I don't want to hang out with you because you treat me badly.
Sure.
You know, it's just on an emotional level. But I think also another thing is that as females, there could be this fear, especially the older you get, that I won't get anyone better. So let me just take the little scraps and put them together, and I'll be happy with what I get. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, but I honestly think that taking and having been in a relationship where sex was involved and sex wasn't involved is that sex really does cloud your judgment. You will take crap for 5 years just because of the emotion, the spiritual tie of that sex involves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My second question, probably my last question, because I don't have a lot of questions. But how important are finances when dating a man? Like, how important is financial stability?
Oh, I was Bob the Builder. You know what? Let me be honest, ne? And this is my perspective, so I hope no one comes from me. I don't think finances are as important as a man with a vision and a plan.
Yeah, because that was going to be my follow-up question with you then. When on a ratio of finances to potential, what is the ratio there?
I don't know where I saw, but someone said don't marry your potential. I can't remember where I saw it. But anyway, going back to that is if you could have money and have no vision. And that's when it comes to umfan, it's a boy, you know, you can't stick to that. But then you could have, and that's why women will stay with men who have nothing, and then the men will become something. Because as a woman, we are the helpmate, we're the ones who make the seed grow. So when you see a man with potential, you already know what he can actually become something. So I think that's why women are in relationship with broke men. But sometimes there's a man who will be telling you the same dream for 5 years and nothing is happening. I think that vision has to be matched with some effort. Like there has to be something that, like, go to work at McDonald's while we're making this dream come true, but have something. Like you can't be chilling at home.
I think there's also
day.
a misconception of what potential looks like, because I think a lot of times we kind of we look at it as it's broke versus rich, but a lot of times it's not broke versus rich. A lot of times it's okay versus I'm gonna be better than this, I'm gonna be great, but I'm okay right now. Like I still have it together, because I think of us when we were dating, I was definitely not rich, but I had like a plan, you know, and you could see that I have a plan. And even though sometimes I wouldn't have money, but sometimes I would, you know, and when I did, I showed you that
you can take care of,
that I can take care of you. And I was thinking there were certain things that were non-compromisables in the relationship, that no matter what, I have to do this.
When I saw your apartment and your curtain, you had curtains, you know, it wasn't just a sheet hanging over, or you actually had toothpaste, you had soap, there was like juice.
It was a queen bed. I had a queen bed.
You had a queen bed. But besides all of that, and your living room didn't have much, but it was clean. You know, that kind of shows me that, okay, this man is building something. There's something there. You know, his home is proper. I had a friend who dated a guy, a Christian guy, by the way, and they never ever went on a date. And his reason was he grew up poor and like he just doesn't have that money, you know. And when they did go out, they would go 50-50. They went to McDonald's and they would go 50-50. So my friend and I were like, girl, in McDonald's 50-50. And then she would like, no guys, he's starting out. And we're like, okay, I guess we understand. And then we went to McDonald's and we found him on a date with another girl, and he looked like he was paying. So some guys are just really, really dodgy. And I just think as a girl, man, listen, there's something God gave every woman, and that is instinct and intuition and gut. Listen to it. But yeah, I think to conclude, knowing your worth, I think my life changed when I knew my worth. And like Brendan said, it doesn't mean that he changed immediately.
Yeah.
It just meant
still
that
changing.
Yeah. It just meant that I'm not allowing this in my space. And if you can choose, do you want to be in my space or not? If
And
you
it
don't
just
want
allows for transparency, which I
Yeah.
think is very important in relationships, because a lot of times if you guys aren't being upfront about how you feel about certain things and your expectations, then it really makes it very hard to deal with those things, because no one is putting it out there. So you guys just have all these elephants
in the room. Yeah.
And
I have
so-
one more question for you.
Okay.
The times when we did keep breaking up, when I'd break up with you, you wouldn't fight.
Yeah.
Did you feel relief?
You know what? When we broke up, I thought I'd be relieved.
Okay. You probably thought, oh, I can breathe.
I thought I could breathe, could live my true self. I could be my true self.
Yeah.
But then a day went past, and then I realized that we had established we were very big on communication.
Yeah,
So we had
that's all we
established
had.
such a big chain of communication, and we had intimate. I realize now in hindsight that it was intimacy.
Yeah.
We're very intimate with each other.
Yeah.
So to a point where one of the times when we broke up, we started chatting.
Afterwards?
And we were like friendly. Like, it was the weirdest thing. We had broken up, and then I think 2 weeks later we just started chatting.
Yeah.
And like, when I say chatting, back in the day you could chat with someone the whole day.
Yeah.
Like, we were chatting the
I was in
whole
varsity
day.
and-
And it's just like we were just talking and laughing, and then that's just those moments. That's what I missed. I realized that I had a companion.
Yeah.
And I didn't recognize that, you
Yeah.
see, because I wasn't matured enough to recognize that, and I wasn't equipped as a man to recognize it. So every time we'd break up, it was a reminder.
But I could tell that every time I broke up with him, this guy was just way too happy.
I feel like, yeah, but I also feel like you broke up with me because you wanted to show me that I need you. So when you were breaking up with me, it wasn't like it's over. It was like,
No, but there was that
ukuthi
one
lento
time-
ifunayo.
The last time we broke up,
You're for real.
I was for real, and I said this prayer to God. I said, God, if this guy is not for me, allow this to happen. And if he is for me, then don't allow it to happen. And I broke up and I said, you know what, Brendan, I'm setting you free. And then I think you immediately responded. You said, okay,
did
cool.
you think you were?
I
Did
think
you think you were God?
I think you said, okay, cool, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like 10 minutes later, you said, no.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
I remember I was driving.
I can't do this. So I was just like,
I was driving when I got that text. I remember I remember it like clearly.
Yeah. But it's not to say that things are perfect. Like he said, babe, there's still a lot of learning and unlearning to do. Childhood traumas that we have to deal with. The way we just being raised and our brains are taught to think. But and I think that's why we want to have these conversations, because these are conversations we are really having,
and that really help us. And a lot of times, and this you spoke about our love journey in the beginning.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we do these things not only for you guys, but to have these conversations for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it helps us. Because like I said, we've only been married for 3 years, and in marriage years, that's not long at all.
we like infants.
Yeah, we like infants. So a lot of things we are still learning, and like she said, we still implementing, and we're still maturing, and we still kind of, but the basis of it, like she said, is knowing our worth and transparency, being able to, because knowing your worth, that's what it sets off. It starts off this chain of transparency. Because now you are able to talk about what you guys expect. And I know a lot of people say you don't go into marriage or you don't go into relationships with expectations, because then you won't be disappointed. But that's nonsense. You definitely go in with expectation, because then you know what your goal is.
Yeah.
So do you want to end it off?
Yeah, I just think know your worth, and in knowing your worth, be willing to let him go. Yeah, be willing to let him go. And if he's for you, he stepped up.
He will step up.
He will step up. He will step up. It doesn't mean that he will be perfect. It means that he will step up, and he will do the work as much as you have work to do. We all have work to do. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. Let us know how you felt about this conversation. Did it do something? Did it open up a conversation with your partner, your boyfriend, your spouse? Especially now during the lockdown, I'm sure a lot is happening in relationshipville. So yeah, let us know what you thought, and if you went through something similar. If you don't know your worth, please let's share, let's learn. The whole aim is to make sure that we we make this love thing work, man.
Yeah, let's
fight.
work on it. Let's fight for it. Let's make love what God intended it to be.
Take care.
Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.